It's all coming together right here now. It's all coming together right here now. It's all coming.
So, I want to talk about the difference between male abuse and female abuse as the aggressor. In my situation, the woman that I had issues with, that I got a protection order against, that I feel was the aggressor in my situation, and how that juxtaposes with, the rightful claims that many females and women have on the receiving end of abuse and injury from male counterparts. And of course there's male on male crime and injury, and there's female on female crime and injury. But right now, just looking at the difference in gender with these two cases, with female to male injury and male to female injury. So I take the position, and I think a lot of people take the position when it comes to females and their right to self-protection, that we encourage, and many of us train and have our mothers and our sisters and our daughters and our friends that are females, encourage them to be trained in self-defense for their protection in a world that's full of barbarism, right? That's violent by nature. It has violence all over. And so there's no bubble that we live in. There's no statute or pre-thought or pre-crime law that we can enact and create that can stop, and nor should we ever advocate for that. We live in a world that we choose to have freedom to experience all that is in this world, and then we have the right to prosecute if there's injury, if there's actually a crime anywhere in the world. Outside of that, get out of my business, right? We have the right to be free, to be human, to live and co-create. So within that, injury might happen. Domestic violence, specifically in America, that's where I'm at, so that's what I'm going to speak on. I think personally, my experience having gone through what I've gone through now is that there's an extreme bias and privilege offered to one of the sexes and discrepancy put on the other. So when it comes to domestic violence, as I just said, I think I advocate, and many people advocate, that women have the right to protect themselves. So whether that's learning self-defense, a martial art, taekwondo, aikido, jiu-jitsu, right? Or just carrying some pepper spray, or a taser, or a baton, right? Something, or 22, a concealed permit, right? Get trained in safe use of firearms, right? Second Amendment, a right to bear arms. Let's keep hope alive and keep that right enacted and protected. And so, if a woman is to defend herself from any attacker, men in this case, men included, men being the focal point of much of the third wave feminist movement, the wicked patriarch. And so women have the right to protect themselves when the police and the state and the government and whoever else that should be there to protect whoever and make a safe bubble world isn't there. They got to do something to hold their own. So we know that in this world, we accept it. We support it. You want to tase somebody, you want to pepper spray somebody that tries to violate your space and your rights and injure you, your freedom, or your physical body, then you have the right to self-defense. You have the right to protect yourself. So you're not going to find many people that, would look down upon or condemn or, stifle the idea that a woman should protect herself in this world. It's encouraged, it's supported, it's obvious. So If a man tries to rape a woman, if a woman's jogging, if a woman's coming home from work, if a woman's in a parking lot, wherever, these are some of the claims that the woman I dealt with had throughout her life, not just with me, but in life in general. She was raped at the airport. She was drugged and raped by a model photographer. All things that came out that they were lies, that she admitted on the record. This isn't hearsay, this isn't opinion, this is fact, this is statement under oath. So in those cases, if those cases are true, in one case she said a illegal immigrant tried to rape her at the airport and held her at gunpoint, 7.5 months pregnant, and she stabbed that man and was able to get away. Nobody would look at her and say what she did was wrong or out of line or an abuse of force and power. They would say, by any means, good on you. Thank God you got away. And justice must be done, right? This man that tried to injure you, that tried to violate your rights and do despicable, unconscionable things to you and your body and your person and your spirit, should be held accountable. And that's a crime, and he should be punished severely. Okay? That's standard. I agree with that. We all agree with that. I may not agree with the American judicial and prison systems, specifically privatized prisons, but that's a whole nother conversation. I still think there needs to be some sort of law and order, due process. So now we take the vice versa, the adverse, and a male in this society, and we can get into topics of equality. And so typically speaking, we know that men, the muscle mass of men, the bone mass of men is different and more dense and stronger than that of women, and that's how Creator made it. That's how creation made it. Whether you believe in a creator or not, that's common knowledge, right? There's a biological factor to life, and all things in life are not created equal. Monkeys are not the same as man. Cats and dogs are not the same as even dolphins, much less men, right? We have a standard hierarchical totem pole to the advancement of life and intelligence and differences in species and qualities, and why even differentiate in gender? So I'm of the belief that there are some of these obvious differences, and that's okay to talk about. It's not sexist and patriarchal. It's fact. It's statistics. It's, proportions. It's nothing's absolute, but there's definitely ratios to lots of these things in life that we can look at, see the patterns and tendencies. So gender biological differences being one of those. So men in this world, the reason we have to differentiate between abuse from women to men and abuse from men to women is because of the nature alone. Because typically a man's not going to claim that a woman was beating him up, or that he felt physically threatened without any weapons or anything exterior outside of the physique of the human character alone, right? A straight boxing match, pound for pound, age for age, you start getting the same categories. A man's gonna beat a woman in a boxing match if one's not trained and the other's is seriously trained or something like that. So outside of that, we just got to acknowledge some of these standard differences in life and gender and biology and species. So when it comes to men, I believe we have to define what is abuse on man. And then we get into words like victim. And so in my case specifically, I don't necessarily tout out that I'm a victim. I don't subscribe personally to victim mentality, although I think there's plenty situations in this world that the status and the label and the identity that we understand typically to be victim applies, and it's a good thing. It's not supporting some inability to heal or to be strong and to be warrior-like or to be, overcome serious things people have gone through in this world. And so victim has its place. Now, with what I went through with false accusations and slander of the worst kind, that I typically use the word injury. And when we get to rights and claims in law, common law practice, I think injury is a good term in relationship to victimhood, because injury implies what we typically associate with the word victim. That there's going to be an injured party and there's going to be somebody that violated somebody's rights or injured them personally, physically, monetarily, in some fashion, their property, whatnot. And that there should be due process to deal with that. If a crime occurred, then we have it up to the customs of the people on how we should deal with wrongdoing and injury. And so, in my case, it's easier to communicate if I just use injury, that I was injured by this woman. Now, the things she did to me personally, outside of then turning around and making those claims about me against her, but the things she did, in our case, I personally feels warranted some self-defense. Now, as a man, I found myself in a very peculiar position because I think of the tendency of society and of women and the protection for women and justified due protection for women, because our queens need security. We need to do right by them. There still is injustice going on. Now, we're in the first world and we're in America, so it's nothing here like it is in lots of aspects of the world, lots of places out there where true rights are being completely disregarded. So we also have to have a reality conversation about the differences of the degree of violation of rights and the degree of injury, right? When the third wave European, typically Caucasian-based white females of America put themselves in a position of oppression that's under black women or brown women or brown men, the so-called minority base in America, we got a problem. Because statistically speaking, the times in America right now, there's more opportunity, the least crime, the least victimization of almost every demographic out there than any other time in history. And yet, when you look at third wave feminism in America, you'd think the patriarch has some of these females in, these nations where they have no rights, where, when we talk about genital mutilation and, things like this that are still going on today compared to the man stare, or, some of the stuff that is of serious debate and activism here in America, like, it's night and day. I just feel like we got to get back to a common sense conversation that includes judgment. We're all judging. I'm an advocate of judgment. I think judgment is opinion. I think critical analysis involves judgment. And so this whole don't judge me, I've already done videos on the whole who are you to judge and how I think it's silly. We're all intelligent beings, judging and critiquing and reevaluating and self-evaluating. And so that's a part of intelligence. That's a part of self-development and self-accountability, much less the love revolution and the movement for peace and understanding and clarity and balance. So these conversations between the men and the women, especially in America, as well as the so-called brown, melanated, black cultures, so-called minority cultures in relation to so-called whites and the Europeans and the Caucasians. These are conversations that now more than ever, still need to be had. Mine right now, and a lot of the points of some of the videos I'm doing now have to do with my specific battle and struggle, which has to do with family court and domestic violence, false accusations, stereotypes, I think racism, sexism, gender discrimination, because it goes both ways all over the place. And so we can't let stereotypes, statistics, tendencies negate things that might be out of the ordinary, that might not be common, that still require attention and justice. I don't think that's my case, because I think this is happening to men all over the place, especially when you get into family court and child custody and child support and, legally getting rid of fathers and restricting fathers' access to children and children's access to fathers, because it's a two-way streak. Children have just as much rights to their fathers and to their both parents, regardless of the gender, as either parent, regardless of the gender, has that right to enjoy their child. So, domestic violence specifically, when it comes to its effect on that, I encourage everybody to look into the statistics of the number of fabricated cases of domestic violence from women to men when divorce and family courts and family custody hearings start. It's an issue and it's a problem. And I don't care if it's just one. I know my case. I know I was falsely accused. I know what my character is. And to work so hard into your life to have good character, to build your reputation and who your community and your friends and your loved ones see you to be authentic, to work and develop from what some of us in the street culture and in the culture of propaganda to make us not value anything, much less be articulate, positive, loving beings. To do all that work to get then to where we are authentic, good, balanced, productive people of society, of our families. In my case, a good father, a good man, a good partner, a good friend, a good son. Right? When we do all that work, and then to have completely unfounded, in my case, just as a tool of legal strength and getting the legal upper hand to have, and we know in the relations, interracial relations, the relations of melanated people historically in America, the white woman accusing the black man, the so-called black man, of rape, of injustice, of damage, of, millions of things throughout history, to get black men lynched, to get brothers shackled up, put away, taken away, put in that sunken place, as the pills say. You know what I'm saying? This is a thing that's been going on forever. And so, that's an injury. That's a crime. For me, what I've gone through is bad. It's been bad and it's been bad. And that's why I do these videos. That's why I'm trying to raise awareness about what are we going to do about it? About what do we do for somebody like me that's had no protection in the court system, in Oregon specifically? This is a woman I had a protection order out against, and then continues to violate and harass and slander and make accusations that lead to me being in court for months and months, having a 9-month domestic violence investigation. And every one of them I won. As a brown melanated man defending himself against claims from a white Caucasian woman. That's tough. I think that's tough to do, and it's tough to overcome, and it's tough to come out victorious. I think you really need to have your T's crossed and your I's dotted and your P's and Q's, and have everything in order to have these demographics and still come out clean, come out victorious. But that's the point. We never come out clean. The stigma's still there. If you call someone a pedophile, that didn't happen to me. But we know that's the worst case scenario. They call you a pedophile, child molester, a child abuser. That's what they call me, a child abuser. They said I threw my baby to the ground with moms, that I beat moms. That's what her claims. And that I raped her and I threatened to kill her. Serious things. Those are serious claims. If you claim somebody is threatening to kill you, and that's true, they held you like prisoner. They forced you to have sex. They threw you and a baby to the ground on multiple occasions. Things that were said about me. I threw her into a pile of glass is what she said. These are terrible things if that happened. That deserve punishment. That deserve serious consequences. But now on the flip side, if none of that happened, and I mean none of it, if it was all just a tool of malice and a tool of leverage and political superiority, right? If you accuse somebody of a crime and it didn't happen, that is a crime. Now, we can talk about the degree of injury and how bad it affects somebody, or we could talk about the severity of a woman doing that to a man in relationship to a man and the type of abuse women have been subjected to throughout history and still today to the hands of men, right? I won't get into alcohol and the customs of this American culture, this alcohol culture, and the degree of domestic violence and how much domestic violence goes up when alcohol alone is involved and how much those statistics change when alcohol is removed and not a part of the equation. These are things we got to discuss about the health of our community, of our people. Why are people drinking in general? Why are men drinking in history? What are they trying to suppress? What are they trying to ease? What are they trying to soak away? Right? The use of ganja. I think ganja is 1 trillion times better than alcohol. But it's still a vice. The way these kids use it, the way I used it, the way the communities used it. We didn't have elders teaching us how to be balanced. We learned vices to deal with emotions. Because we didn't have families and communities and harmony. Coexisting with our loved ones. Most of us had serious challenges. Had nothing to do with crimes, just had to do with families and broken families and confused families and generations of American colonialism that damaged everybody. Damaged the melanated people, damaged the Moors, all the indigenous people of the Americas, and it damaged all the Europeans, all the immigrants, all the colonialists. It damaged everybody. We haven't even begun to figure it out. We just went on to so-called capitalism and started banging this, try to make money and try to make profit and try to make bigger corps and, become globalists. As though every place is a dollar. As though every plot of land and every little nook you see that's not developed needs to be something that is moving and making money. As though we can't just chill, tend to the earth and tend to our families. Slow the pace of everything a little bit. Reduce the smogs and the cogs of the wheel of natural living with Babylon and the machine that we built. We don't even know where it's going, and we just full speed. I digress. So, victim versus injured party. Who cares what the gender, but we gotta look at the similarities and we gotta look at the differences. Okay? What I see is no justice around my situation as an injured party, as a man. In fact, just to claim this, just to go out and say I've been the so-called victim of serious wrongdoing. Right? I'm scared just to do that. That's why I want to reach out to anyone, so that men out there that are in the same position, let them know I feel you. I've been through it. It's the worst thing I've ever gone through. And there is no network of support for men. There's no men's shelters for some of this wickedness that's happened. And they wouldn't look like the women's shelters. They'd be different, of course. But they're still needed. We still have to look at why there isn't that support system in this country for men. Why, when you go to the Oregon Civil Liberties Union, right? The ACLU. Is it the ACLU? You know, where you go to get your rights in check. You see minority rights, right? Civil rights. You'll see women's rights, the gay and lesbians and trans rights. You won't see men's rights on there. It's like an oxymoron to this world. As though men cannot be injured. It's wild. It's wild to me. It's wild that more women and more men and just people in general it's not a part of the conversation. Especially when you get into this grand patriarch conspiracy that's being pushed in America by the third wave feminists. It don't exist. I'm sorry. I don't have no benefit. That don't mean there's no differences, that I don't enjoy privilege as a man, as my physique, as certain things. It's just to say that it's not a conspiracy. It's not an organized plot. And there's still hierarchy. Obviously, go talk to the melanated community. Go talk to brown men and brown women. Latinos, Afro-Americans, Moors, indigenous Americans. Talk to them. Okay, ask them about that hierarchy. Ask the men if they feel a place of privilege. Right? Because they're a man. Because of their gender. We can talk about the totem pole. Is it white male, white woman, brown male? Maybe fluctuating with the brown woman and brown male who's down at the bottom. Just like there's some women, it's not absolute. There's some women that are above men. But we know that typically in America there's a hierarchy to this totem pole. I don't think white women go through what brown women or brown men go through. There's different degrees. And it's okay to talk about that. It's not about suffering competition, right? It's not about the Jews suffered more than the natives, the indigenous Americans suffered more than the Africans, than the transatlantic slaves suffered more than the Caucasian concubines and the Slavs and the white Caucasian slaves, right? And it ain't about that. Because we can get lost in that. In the so-called big phallus competition. Right? We can get lost in that. And that's not what it's about. It's about stopping wrong and stopping injury when it's happening. If it's happening right now especially. It's about acknowledging what injury is. What victimization is. Regardless of gender, right? Regardless of religion, regardless of class, all these things that aren't supposed to be factors in equality. Not because we're all absolute equals in our makeup, in our composition, in our potential, but because we try to be civilized, moral people that treat people with love and compassion. We want our compassion to be equal. We want our golden rule and our golden law to be equal. Not so that we treat everybody equal, but so that we put each other in someone else's shoes. So we can think about other people's customs and other people's needs and other people's experiences. So that men can think about what it's like to be a woman at night, in a parking lot by yourself, or at home as a single mother with a daughter, or a young boy. As a woman, single woman trying to raise a little boy, or a single woman trying to raise 2 boys and a girl, or 3 girls and a boy. What that's like in a home where you might feel vulnerable sometimes, right? What that's like. And then women, to put yourself in a man's shoes. Don't just generalize and condemn, but think about, what are they even expressing? What are their grievances? What are their hardships? What are their pains and sufferings and obstacles that they've overcome? And think about it and relate. Have reverence and empathy and sympathy. Put yourself in their shoes and think about it, and then ask more questions. Then have them ask you questions. And then we dialogue around a fire in a circle with our tribe and our community. And then intertribals do the same thing, and we talk and we commune and we grow. When we step on somebody's foot, we say, "Excuse me," and we ask. We see if we injured somebody, and if we did, we try to make it right. That's atonement. If I break your window, or I break your stick, or I break your house, or I break your foot, right? There's some things we can never make the same. But good people do their best to make it right, to make it better, to do the best they can. If I break a window, I'm going to do the best I can to make it as it was. So, when it comes to injury, that's all I want. Equal protection, equal consideration, right? Equal justice, equal compassion, equal time and understanding, right? It's not that I need the system or need every woman or every man to hold my hand. It's just we should have compassion for each other. We should have compassion for elders. We should have compassion for the youngins. We should have compassion for the middle-aged. We should have compassion for those around my age. It's the love revolution, right? So that's why I'm going to continue to bring awareness to this, because I think those men that are in my position, just as the women, right? I don't believe in a rape culture. The men I know lots of men. I know men everywhere. I never knew a man that condoned or brushed off any concept or notion of somebody raping somebody. It's an atrocity. Nobody stands for that. Nobody that I know. I understand there's sick people out there that do it. But this ain't a rape culture. Not that I've seen. Not that anybody's proven to me. We stand by our women. I love women. I love my queen. I love all the queens out there. I love my mother. I love my 2 daughters. I love the female gender. I love humanity. I love the balance in all places of life. Right? That's my love revolution. That's my freedom movement. It's to see all life doing good. And that certainly includes my female counterparts. So, that's what I look to from them. I want my ladies and my queens and my community and my female family and my female collective out there to be encouraging me, to be invested in my betterment, to be invested in my success, to be invested in my health, mental, spiritual, and physical, right? When people do good, we do good collectively. When people are healthy, we all do better. And when there's injustice and injury to any human, men included, we should rally, we should care, we should show compassion. And when it's time to intervene, we should intervene. And that's what I'm saying should happen. I had a hell of a time getting women rallied around my case. Getting women to truly relate to the hell and the torment and the suffering I went through, the injury. That's why I say injury. I'm a fighter. I'm a warrior. I know I'll overcome it. I know I'll work through it. I didn't always know, because there's been times, and that's why speaking out to those that have gone through this, those that have had their good character. I'm not talking about scumbags. I'm not talking about wicked people. They need love too. They need some sort of help somewhere, and where we can do it, I try to help everybody that's got demons, that got damage. But I'm talking about good people. Good people that had their name dragged through the mud. Good people that went through court and lost. Good people that were convicted and innocent. Good men. Good males. Good fathers. Good brothers. Good sons. Good boys. Even the boys, the little ones. Right? They need our love. The men need our love. Just like the women need our love. It's a love revolution. That's why love revolution is the whole point of the movement. Because love is and always will be the answer. And so, where I can, I offer love. I offer my participation, my wisdom and my insight, my humble perspective to anything going on, and I participate. Right? I don't stand by apathetic and idle. In Colorado here, we've been doing training on unitive justice, a way to bring spirit and love and compassion with strength and integrity into healing, into what law should be, into what crime is, into what injury is. Right? A way to heal and have accountability and transform from what we know isn't working. Being in family law and family courts, it's not working. Even the domestic violence investigation against me, it wasn't working. It was a sad excuse for even an investigation. I knew I was innocent, and it was still sad. That's what was frustrating too. Because the job they did is unacceptable. If somebody out there was guilty, the job they did was still unacceptable. And for those that are innocent, the job they did was unacceptable. It was easy to find this out. That's how I feel. It was easy to go detect, talk to people, do the work, be a detective, get character reference, talk to people. I've been in this community for 25 years. Right? Somebody that beats women and beats kids, that's not a normal person. Somebody like that, they got a track record, right? They don't hide that from the world. I know there's some stealth people out there that really pull one over, because that's how I feel about the woman I dealt with. Right? She's a sociopath, a narcissist. Machiavelli. She fools tons of people. She plays that victim like she's the victim well. When it comes to gaslighting, when it comes to accusing me of everything she does, she did it well. But I'm an intelligent person. I'm passionate about my character. I have pride, healthy pride. I don't walk around boastful. But I'm certainly proud of the work I've done to be a good man, to be a good member of my community, to have 15 years with the freedom movement under my belt, talking about love and communion, self-accountability, being authentic, having nonviolent communication, right? Working on communication, period. Communication, 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 right? Active listening. Making sure people know that you heard what they're communicating to you. 2 ears, one mouth. Doing more listening than we are speaking. I put in time to be a good man, to be a good human, to atone and account for who I was when I wasn't that, which was a long time ago. Pre-18 for me. That's in the 80s. Okay? So, it's important to have accountability. That's why it's important for me to say, hey, when there was injury and injustice done, it's okay for men to speak out. It's okay to say, hey, what was done to me is unconscionable. It's not okay. And it's severely damaging. It don't make you weak. Doesn't have to emasculate you. I get it. Trying to be a good man, trying to take the upper higher road. In my case, where I'm being attacked by a woman and I'm holding a baby and I'm scared to even protect myself. Post then, I'm scared to even call her out. Like, I'm doing wrong as a man to call this woman wicked when what she did was wicked. When women call out wicked men, males who rape women and beat women, put their hands on women, when they call them out as wicked, scumbags, lowlifes, outside of the love revolution, I get we still working for them too. We still working to heal our brothers and sisters who are damaged, who are alcoholics, who do the wickedest shit in this world. We're trying to get them on track too. We're not trying to be hypocritical about it, where we pointing fingers and not even looking at self, right? If you don't have yourself in check and you're out there pointing your finger to other people, you're gonna look foolish. So we start with self, but we do community building as well. But where these people are out there and they call wicked where it's wicked, if we're going to support it on one side, we got to support it on the other side. Right now, I'm scared to do that. Like, they're going to take away more time. I don't know how they could take away more time with my child. I only got 2%. To mom's 98%. That's the point. That's not equality. That's imbalance. Severe imbalance. And I've never done anything wrong. I have no convictions. I've never been convicted of a crime. In fact, she has. She is the one convicted. They gave me a permanent protection order. Why doesn't that mean anything out in Oregon? I have no idea. They offer me no protection against this woman. And the only thing I can figure is because it's a gender issue. Because I'm a man. And they do everything to protect her and nothing to protect me. It'd be one thing if I had a conviction. I had hearings out there. They looked at my character. They listened to her claims. And that's part of the point. They gave her a whole hearing to look at my character, to listen to accusations of abuse, child abuse, and woman abuse. They won't give that to me. They barely give me time to speak on her character, period. That's why I speak up. There's such a discrepancy. If this was happening to women, I would hope and I would think that people would be up in arms. I don't know. I don't know if the whole culture is so apathetic that they just don't really get involved with individual cases, because that's my experience. People just didn't want to touch the drama. They didn't want to come to court. They didn't want to come speak up. They didn't want to come be involved. They'll go to this rally or this activist thing or this demonstration or Occupy or Standing Rock. They'll go to the big things that got the collective hype, which is good because we need to be there in solidarity too. But I felt like I was fighting these family courts and this discrimination and discrepancy as a man in my situation, as an army of 3 with my family, a couple people that are always there with me. And I know some of these people that I know are there in spirit and energetically. And it'd be hard. I got to go to Oregon from Colorado every time I go to court. To ask my community and people to come do that for me is hard. But how are these judges? How are these lawyers? How is the system going to be even feel like they're held accountable to anybody if we're not going, if we're not looking at these people in the eyes when they make these decisions and say, if you're going to make these decisions, stand behind them, say it loud and say it proud to the world. That's why I think all these hearings, we should be able to bring in recorders and cameras. In the age of YouTube, social media, put it out there, blast it out. Blast these judges out there. If they're so righteous and honorable, and we got so much we can learn about law and life and civility and being a good citizen and being educated and, right? All these high stature qualities. Then blast it out to the world. Why is there so much secrecy? Why can't I bring in a recorder? I don't have nothing to hide. That's my whole point. Record it all. That's why I have to record everything whenever I'm around this woman. I record every interaction I have because I'm terrified of being accused of what I was accused of again. It's not going to happen on my watch. I'm going to have a record of everything. But in the state of Oregon, you can't use a recording if the people don't know they're being recorded. So even me protecting myself like that, I can't use it as evidence. What better evidence than a recording? And I can't even bring it in. I have so many recordings of her trying to hustle me outside of court. I'll give you so much money, just walk away. Don't challenge me. Or get back with me, have more babies with me, be with me. All this can go away, I'll give you so much money while she's suing me in court. For child support and everything else, damages and lawyer bills. They were suing me for $100,000. And they got 50. They got $50,000. That's crazy to me. For what? Because she's got a lawyer. I can't even ask for lawyer's fee because I represent myself. Isn't that crazy? If you got the money to get a lawyer, you can ask for lawyer's fees. You can ask for the other party to pay for this person that you got money to pay for to work for you. So while she pays this guy, she didn't even have to do none of the work. I do all my work, and she gets rewarded. That's why I say in Oregon, I can't just chalk it up to negligence, bad decision making. I feel it's discrimination all across the board. Racial discrimination, class discrimination for my economics, for the amount of money that I happen to make per year. Right? They expect me to go out to Oregon. They want me to go out twice a month. As though people at my economic level can go anywhere twice a month outside of their state. That's like a vacation. Like, you think I was vacationing twice a month before family court? Now I got to do that to prove I'm a good father? Just to get time? I got 2% time I want to increase. I got to now re-budget my whole life at 43? It's crazy. It's discrimination all across the board. But I'll say the number one, gender discrimination. I don't think it's because I'm brown. I think it's because I'm a man. And that's why we got to change it. Families are in trouble, y'all. We got to do our best to change it, starting with ourselves. Starting with not even getting in that position where you go into Babylon. I'm not going to take even a lot of accountability for that because I was hustled all across the board by this woman. On every aspect for years and years. Like, I didn't know people lied like that. I didn't know people lied about their careers and everything in their life. I'm not a dominating Snoopy person, so I wasn't checking everything about this. I believed this for years. 4 years. Before I learned about lying about rapes and lying about careers and lying about which country you're in, right? She tell me she's in Italy. I don't even, to this day, I don't know where she was. Who knows? All I know is she lied about everything. And then took our baby. Before she was even born, started a court process, got full legal custody. 98% of the time. That's injustice. That's injustice for any parent, regardless of your gender, if you've done nothing wrong, if you're a good human. So, injury, I don't care what your gender is. We got to back up people that have been injured. Injury is the point. And there are victims, yes. You want to call me a victim? Sure. I'm not going to run around doing it. But in the general terms that we use to clarify what a victim is, yep. And somebody can go and make up those kinds of malicious, false, wicked statements about you and then have that much impact on your life. I've been in court for the last 4 summers. From 2014 and now it's 2017. Every summer in court. It runs so much of my life. Just responding to lawyers. Doing the paperwork. So much paperwork. So many accusations with no evidence against me. Call me a liar. Call me an abuser. Call me a narcissist. Call me a child abuser. A rapist. A pimp. That's what they call me. All the black stereotypes. Not a single thing to back it up. And then it's just move on. Business as usual. As though there's no need to look into seeing, was this made up? The claims we have, one of us is lying. In my case, I feel that I'm the only one that's had evidence and everything's gone the other way. Now, what can do that? Either I'm full of it, I'm lying, I'm really a wicked person who beats women and babies, is pimping people, contrary to what everybody that I know knows about me. Or, all things, it could be somewhere in the middle. That's what the domestic violence detective said to me. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. That's what he said to me on a claim about beating a woman and baby. Like the truth in what's the middle ground in that, like something bad. Nah. It ain't no middle ground. It's just what is the truth, period. You don't start with a bias that is probably in the middle. Who knows what it is? You don't know me at all. You don't know her at all. So do your job. That's how I feel. It's one of the most offensive things said to me. Truth is probably in the middle with some abuse. That's not okay. Then where do you take that up? Take that up with his superior, right? You take that up when you're in the middle of a family lawsuit, custody lawsuit, child support, court hearings. You got all these other hearings. Like any human can handle that type of pressure, that type of stress, that type of risk. You know what's at risk when you're fighting for your children, your family. The weight you feel on your shoulders, especially when you're around people you know are judging you. They're going to judge your character. They want you to put your whole life out there, right? No more, you got the right not to search and seize. They want all your information. They wanted all my records, all my financials. I didn't have a right to privacy. And when I called them on that, they fined me $50,000 for saying I wasn't an obligor, a subrogee, and a debtor, and under their jurisdiction. I believe that. They call me a freeman. They lump me in with the white patriots, as though that's not racism and disrespect. As though there weren't how many indigenous nations fighting for their sovereignty, their autonomy and self-determination before the Freemans, before the Europeans that colonized this place, then realized most of them weren't in on the game and on the hustle anyways. Wanted their sovereignty, wanted out of the shtick. Lump me in with them as though the Moorish movement hasn't been building up nationality and national identity, differentiation from the U.S. Corp from the beginning. It's racist. It's ignorant. These aren't street people. The lawyer is an educated person. The judge is an educated person. We know many of these judges. I'm not saying in my case, but we know many of the judges are Masons and part of fraternities and secret societies, as are the lawyers. Right? So these aren't foolish people. These aren't people that say much haphazardly. Of course, they're out there. There's silly lawyers that don't know nothing. But some of these lawyers are seriously educated. They're in the know. They know what they're doing to the American people. They know what they're doing with all this contract law, all this hustle on jurisdiction and your personal status as a citizen, as a 14th Amendment citizen, wherever they want to put you down in the totem pole. So, we're trying to make change. Men, I support you. Good men, I support you. Bad men, you gotta get it together. Good women, I support you. Bad women, you gotta get it together. These babies aren't a bargaining tool. They're not a revenge tool. They're not a financial ticket. You know what child support is? Spending time, teaching, educating, loving, nurturing, guiding, investing you, passing down what you got to pass down. That's child support. It's not Babylon. It's not commerce. Of course, we're in a commercial realm, so we got to deal with it. And any parent who's not helping facilitate that. But women, if you're equal and it's equal times and third wave feminism, then you go make the money too. And we on an equal commerce field, right? We on an equal level when it comes to this money. So, there shouldn't be child support going one way. In my case, you want to deny and restrict my access and then say I owe Federal Reserve notes, debt currency? It's going to put me in more debt? That's crazy. That's slavery. That's human trafficking. We oppose that. That's not equality. That's not equal protection. If we were doing that to women, women would be losing their mind. They gave me 98% of the time for nothing and made her pay? That'd be crazy. Okay? And that's why we acknowledge the difference in biology and gender. We know women are probably going to stay home and want to nurture the women that want to have children and want to have families like that. There's going to be a natural difference. But to reduce men to $1, to a financial status, to a calculation worksheet, is wicked. It's silly. It's the lowest form of intelligence. It's so far from where we need to be as a culture, as families, as our morality. It's not even in the ballpark. And so I'm going to work and I'm going to work and I'm going to work. I'm going to work to improve my condition, to get more time with my daughter, to get her more time with me, because she needs a father just like she needs a mother. So I'm going to work to get the most I can get while I call them wrong for where I see them doing wrong. I think what they're doing is wicked. I think it's unconscionable. I don't know how they can argue it with a straight face. I don't know how anyone can. A divide of 2%. I don't care if your children are in schools. I think public schools are goofy. They're doing more damage than good at this point. So that's not an excuse for me to keep her out of my life. And even if so, we're going to do schools 50-50. That's how I feel. You do half the year. If you want to move to a different state, I think that's selfish. Kind of parent moves to a different state, you better have some good reasons that your community, your collective, your family, the counterpart's family, everybody's like that. Makes sense. And we support you because we want to see you thrive. We want to see you do good. We want to see you elevate yourself. And if that happens to be 1,000 miles away or more, there's some things that justify that. It's not black and white. In my case, absolute selfish. It's selfish and it's malicious. Why the mother of my child left. Not the mother of my older child. That's a good woman. We have the best relationship. That's why it's offensive to me. How can I have a relationship with one woman for so long that's so good and so cooperative, but there's some reason to believe that I'm the problem in this other situation? Of course it could be. It's just not the case in mine. And any real investigation, any real due diligence in due time will figure it out. But they just don't give that to, I'm guessing, the majority of these people in family courts. I can only speak on mine. I've been to a few others since I've been in the system just to keep educating myself. And I've already given praise to Colorado because I think Colorado is doing it different. And what I've seen isn't okay. It's not what we need, what we expect of the judicial system. But compared to Oregon, it's night and day. It's at least in the ballpark here. There's at least some common sense, some equality. In Oregon, I've seen none of that. I've seen none of it. And so I got to speak out, and I'm going to keep speaking out, and I'm going to do whatever I can to raise awareness, offer support for those that are in this position. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, if you've had your rights to your child taken away. I feel you, and I support you, and I understand what it's like. It's a special, I think, type of suffering to go through, to lose a child that's still alive, that's in this world that you just have no access to. It's like being in a prison that you can't access your loved ones, period. What does it matter what type of bars keep you away from your family? For many of us, that's a pain that you can't explain unless you've gone through it. And so for those that have gone through it, I empathize with you. I sympathize with you. I have compassion for you. And I send my prayers that you elevate, that you find peace of mind, body, and soul, that you find inspiration and motivation for something positive to come out of it. Maybe those of us that have gone through this, what's to come out of it is making the change. If that's legislative, if that's consciously with our community, if that's with our family and friends, wherever it's got to be, we're going through this for a reason. It's this out of whack for a reason. Injustice to anyone is injustice to everybody. So we still got to hold that principle and fight where these atrocities are happening. Men are good. Women are good. Humans are good. There's some bad apples, but for the most part, we're good people. So the fact that this much damage and negativity and lack of integrity is happening consistently is a problem. And we need good people to know it's a problem and to address it. And I hope you address it. And I hope we can change it collectively. These videos are my start to do that. I know I'm long-winded. Some of them are long. I'm going to try to make them shorter. But my goal is to help. My goal is to progress. So it's a love revolution. I hope we can make positive change. I hope we can look at some of these gender issues without warring with each other. It's a Willie Lynch-free zone. As we say, ain't no Willie Lynching going on here. We're not trying to divide any further than we've been divided. All right? We're trying to bridge the gaps, heal the wounds, elevate ourselves, and elevate each other. Have positive solutions, be solution-oriented. And my solutions are make music, have the freedom movement and hip-hop and soul music, rhymesforthetimes.com, be an authentic human, a good man, and try to do my part to elevate life. It's a love revolution. Let me know your part. Let me know if you dig it or if you think we off base. Leave a video comment, not a keyboard warrior comment. Interact with us personally. Put your face behind your words. Let us look into your eyes, the window to the soul, and see if we feel your spirit. Have accountability for who you are, your word, and your actions. Let's be in action. Let's think positive. PMA. And let's move forward. Forward march to love revolution. 1.
It's all coming together right here now. It's all coming together right here now. It's all coming together right here. Who's that? It's love. Can you feel it coming through that conscious revolutionary music? Yeah, you can feel it in your veins.
Hey, give thanks for those who donated and ask for ways to donate and support and help the cause. I set up a PayPal account for donations, so if you want to donate, you can do so at lovefurpapa@gmail.com. That's our PayPal account, and that's love, the number 4, POPPA @gmail.com. If you got $1 to spare, every dollar helps. We just want to say thank you to those who have supported in every way that they have. Peace and love.